Having any fun yet?
Give you a brief background, chat, before I jump in the details of Maverick. You know, I have seen Top Gun. I saw it years ago, 15, I want to say at least 15, maybe even longer years ago at this point. And I remember, I knew it was popular. I knew it was a huge hit in 1986, the highest grossing movie, 86. And then I was like, I saw it, and I was like, I don't fucking get why people love this movie. I mean, yeah, it has is a really cool soundtrack. I will say that is a good score. And, you know, there are a lot of sexy people in it. That no question about that. But I just found the movie so, well, most of the time unintentionally funny, other times boring, and thirdly, very homoerotic, chat, and seemed to be unaware of how homoerotic it was. And so I was like, yeah, you know, I didn't really care for it. And then I watched it again recently, obviously in preparation for my own review, and since the new movie was coming out, and obviously for Double Toasted's retro review, and watching it again, I'm like, yeah, I feel the same exact way. I don't really get it. And so I would give it like a rental on the Double Toasted scale. Like, it's not some old bullshit. It's stuff that made me laugh, and there's a couple of moments which I think are fun. But overall, just kind of a forgettable movie. But, you know, it has its place in history, obviously. And so when it was announced that, I guess this has been for a long time, this movie has been in kind of development hell for 30 plus years. Tony Scott was originally connected to this film, chap, but I think that, delayed production, sadly, because of his suicide. And you know, they worked on and developed it, and then it was supposed to be, I think, released like a year or two ago, but then of course you had the pandemic, chat, and so they delayed it, of course. And Tom Cruise, he was adamant, like, I'm not going to release this movie on VOD. We're not going to release it on a streaming service. Like, he was adamant about that. It's like, no, this is fucking going to theaters, and here we are, chat. You know, those however many years later, I guess 2 years later at this point, or a year and a half later at the very least, and now it's come out. It's come out to exceptionally rave reviews and to huge box office success. I think so far, like, United States, it's made about, 150 million, around there, 125, 150. And I think internationally altogether, it's made about 250 or something like that, $200+ million, chat. So it's looking to be one of the highest grossing movies of the year. I have no doubt about that. But even then, I kind of went in with, I mean, I was hyped up because everyone was being really excited about it, but I have to admit, I'm like, how good is this movie really, chat? And I can safely say, for myself, this film is superior in every way to the original film, in terms of directing, in terms of writing, in terms of pacing, in terms of acting, in terms of action sequences, chat. It improves upon it, but it's also incredibly reverent. It's exceptionally reverent to the original film, which surprised me. And, you know, I guess in a way, it's like, even though it's like, I imagine, the director, Joseph Kosinski, and the various screenwriters, Aaron Kruger, Eric Warren, and Christopher McQuarrie, and Tom Cruise, they looked at the original movie and said, okay, let's take the stuff that works and get rid of the stuff that just frankly doesn't. But look at the stuff that worked. Let's improve that tenfold. And that's what they did in this movie, chat. I can safely say at this point, this is my favorite movie of 2022. This is an exceptionally well-made film. This is quality filmmaking across the board. Because, yeah, you get some amazing action sequences, but the thing that impressed me the most was the characters and the writing and these emotional, wholesome moments that both call back to the original films. A film that I'm like, I don't really care about, but call back to them and rework them and leave you with an emotional impact that will make you water-eyed. It'll make probably a lot of people cry. I was water-eyed like several times in this movie. I'm like, God damn. And they're doing it so well. This is, at least for me, this is probably Tom Cruise's best performance. Not to say that he hasn't had amazing performances before. You know, Collateral, I think he's incredible in Collateral. He's made some great movies, but there's something about him in this film where he really fucking brings it. He really brings it to this role, because there's his character is broken. By the time we see, yes, we know that in Top Gun, the original, he's like, yeah, fucking, we did it. We beat them fucking Ruskies. We shot the MiGs out of the sky. And he's going to go teach at Top Gun. But then for this movie, it's 30 plus years later, and there's a lot of shit that has obviously happened to him. And he's broken, and he's guilt-ridden, and he knows, and the thing is, he's very self-reflective. He knows what his problems are. Like, even the first, 10 minutes of this movie, he's like, I shouldn't do this, but I can't help myself. Like, he's got problems still to this day. But where I was just fucking annoyed with him in the original movie, a lot of the times, here I'm like, wow, I really feel for him. I really feel for this guy. And it makes sense, because you're looking like, how the fuck is he still around if he's still making these same mistakes? And they have a good story reason as to why. And it's like, wow, it works out. Like, they looked at everything, and they made sure this movie is fucking tight, that there aren't any plot holes, that these emotional moments hit. And yeah, Tom Cruise has several scenes that are going to make you cry in the movie. And it's not just him either in the film, chat. I mean, Miles Teller, who plays Rooster, I think Bradley Bradshaw Jr., or just Bradley Bradshaw, who is the son of Anthony Anderson's character, Goose, in the first film, he brings it too. I mean, the thing is like, wow, they made sure he looks like, Jesus, this guy, Miles Teller, could be the son of Anthony Anderson. And they have the mustache. It's like, I can tell. And there is a lot of history that we learn about between Maverick and Rooster, and the scenes that they have together are very powerful and very strong. And I loved it for that. I thought that was exceptional. Anthony Edwards. My apologies, Anthony Anderson, Anthony Edwards. I'll put respect on that name. No. They made sure that he looks just like, or nearly, similar to Anthony Edwards. And along with him, I mean, the thing is, we also have like other, we have the other hotshot pilots in it. The thing, what's so great about the other pilots is that they don't feel like stereotypes, like in the last movie, or just like a bunch of Val Kilmer clones. Yeah, they some of them are cocky, and maybe they're not like overly developed or anything like that. But you have moments with them where they feel like real fucking people. They feel like real people. And that stood out to me. And so when things happen to them in the film, when they're in these really precarious situations, you're like, oh, fucking shit, no. You really care. So I love that about it. Like I didn't feel like these are just throwaway characters, despite maybe they're not going to have like a deep moment with Tom Cruise in the same level as like that he has with maybe like a Miles Teller. They still feel real. And I thought, wow, that was great. They spent time on them. They actually spent some fucking time on them. They made each person stand out, and that was really cool. And that was one of the things that's kind of surprised me. And then you have you have Jennifer Connelly, who is a new character, I would say. I don't want to say too much about her because her character is tied to the original film in a way that I'm like, oh shit, that's who she is? And I thought that was pretty surprising. And she has a incredible chemistry with Tom Cruise throughout the film. I mean, she's very much the love interest, but we see her. She's a single mom, and she has this bar, the flight deck, and she has a very personal connection to Tom Cruise's Maverick in the film from the past. And that it was one of the things where like, hey, let's actually, this throwaway line, if you will, in the last Top Gun. No, let's go into that. Let's go into that history, and explore a little bit more. And she's great. She's great. She's badass. She's sexy. I mean, she commands the screen just as much as Tom Cruise does. She's exceptional. And then I mean, there's a lot of other supporting characters in the movie too. I mean, you have John Hamm in the film, chat. Ed Harris is in it. And Ed Harris, who's not in the movie a lot, he's really only in the opening of the film, like the first 20 or so minutes, I suppose. I mean, even less than that. Like, he has a great scene. He has a great moment with Tom Cruise. And John Hamm, who's kind of like the hard ass of the movie. But you understand like why he is the way he is. It kind of makes sense. He's also great. And tons of other actors who show up and really offer great supporting performances. But I know the one that people are really curious about is Val Kilmer. Val Kilmer, he is in the movie. how they use him is incredibly classy. Super classy, chat. Very respectful. I was like, okay, is this going to be exploitive? Is this just going to be a glorified cameo? And it's not. So don't worry about that. It's like, oh, there he is in the background. No. What leads up to him? He plays an important. He's important to the plot. How they lead up to him, it sets something up that we see later on that works very well. And when they do have that moment, when Maverick and Val Kilmer's Iceman have that moment, it's like, fuck, this is very good. It's one of the best moments of the film. Like that's what's crazy about it. The scenes between the characters, these emotional moments, are just as good as the incredibly thrilling and well choreographed action scenes. And that was one of the moments in the movie where I got water, which is crazy. I was like, these fucking characters in the first movie are ridiculous, over the top, but it's like, fuck, they sold it. And they do something with Val, since Val Kilmer, he can't talk anymore because of his throat cancer. How they handle that and how they incorporate in the movie, very classy, very, very respectful. So if you had any concerns about Val Kilmer and how he was going to be used, a tearjerker scene, if you had any concerns about how he's going to be used in the movie, don't worry about it. They do it in a great way, in a very great way. They were very meticulous and smart about it. And then the other thing people go in there for is the action scenes. One of my biggest criticisms of the original Top Gun is like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. I didn't like the choreography in the first movie. I didn't know who was flying what. I didn't know who the enemy was. I was like, what's happening? I let people praise it. I'm like, I don't really get it. They address all those problems I have. These action sequences, these flight sequences are so well choreographed and so tension filled. Like, you'll be in your seat going like, how the fuck? They set up this mission that is kind of very similar to Star Wars, like the trench run in A New Hope, and they just up the stakes. They make it even more deadly, like than the trench run on the Death Star. It's like, how the fuck are you guys gonna do this? And it's really cool as they're training for this particular thing. There's so many moments in the movie where you're like, this is it. They're all going to die. So, which is really cool. And the blending of practical effects, there's a lot of practical shot stuff in this movie. So, hats off to Joseph Kosinski and his cinematographer for doing this. Hats off to the special effects people, the CGI team. This is a perfect blending of practical effects with CGI sequences that I'm looking at. I'm like, okay, I know this has to be CGI, but it's so goddamn good that it's hard for me to tell at times. Which again, I'm just kind of blown away by it, And at the end of the day, Chad, like thinking about this movie, like, do I have any criticism of it? Is there anything I didn't like? Anything that I thought could have been taken out? Any performances that like, you don't need this. Oh, and there's other actors too. Like, hold on. Well, before I make that point, there's a new character which kind of like the friend of Tom Cruise in the beginning. Yeah, Hondo, Bernie Coleman. His name is Hondo, played by Bashir Salahuddin. And he gets, I hope I'm saying his name correctly. He's really good. You can tell that he's like one of the closest friends to Maverick in the latter half of his career. I like him a lot. Like, they have some really good moments with each other where he understands Maverick. He knows what he's been through, how he is, and and that's the other thing too. Like, it's not just about the pilots either. It's also kind of very reverent and respectful towards all the people who are participating in these missions. Like the ground crew. Like the ground crew, they're like, yeah, without them we'd be fucking dead. I'm like, that was cool. They didn't have so often in the original movie they didn't do that, but usually they wouldn't. But they gave them moments that were impactful and meant something. So that was really cool, and he's one of those standouts of those types of characters. He's not flying a fucking plane or anything, but he's there and he makes an impact. But as I was saying before, that like I don't have any criticisms of the movie, Chad, like at all. It's kind of that it's one of the greatest military movies of all time. One of the greatest action military films of all time. One of the great war movie. I know I'm not calling them. I don't say war movie. I guess war movie technically. I guess you could say it's one of the greatest war military movies of all time. And that's what makes me believe now that this is gonna get some award consideration at the end of the year. I mean, if it doesn't, that's fucking bullshit. But I could literally see. Oh, Bob, I know. Call sign. Oh, I don't even want to say all that. Brilliant. But this could be, this is, if it doesn't, it should be. This is going to get a Best Picture nomination. Joseph Kosinski is going to get nominated for Best Director. I could see this getting Best Screenplay. It's going to get nominated for all the technical awards. But I also think Tom Cruise is going to get a Best Actor nomination. I really do. Which is crazy because I don't like him in the original movie, but they fix everything. They fix everything. And that's the other thing too. Like, what's going to be, because this movie is being received extraordinarily well. It's a huge box office success. Let me see right now what it's made. Top Gun, Maverick. I mean, it broke. I think it broke Memorial Day box office history or records. 151 million in the United States. It's Tom Cruise's biggest opening of all time. I think his second biggest opening was the last Mission Impossible movie, I want to say. Or no, it was War of the Worlds. War of the Worlds, which made like about 60 million or something like. So this is huge for him. And it's being well received by both critics and audiences. But now we're at a point where it's like, what's going to be the cultural impact of this movie? And I thought several things are probably going to happen now. One, it's going to fast track various other Tom Cruise movies. Obviously we saw I saw in my screening Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning. They're playing that trailer. I'm very curious to see how the movie's going to perform now after something like this. The other thing that I'm hoping for is, and this is not saying like a sequel to Maverick. I don't want them to make a sequel. It's not necessarily to make a sequel. I'd rather they don't, because it's kind of this perfect thing. But I think what we're going to start to see more of now, I would hope. Thank you, Thunder Lee, for gifting us up to Costando. An absolute pleasure to have you here. But what I'm hoping the impact of this movie is, because everyone's responding to this movie so well, is that we're going to start getting more inspired sequels and more depth to blockbusters now. And where it's like, not that we haven't been getting that, but, a lot of them have been kind of samey. We get our Marvel movies, and they're great. As you know, Chad, there's a lot of Marvel movies I like, but, they kind of follow a pattern. And what this movie reminds me, as I said, like, inspired. What I mean by inspired sequels and more depth, it's this. This movie, 20 years from now, in my opinion, is going to be looked upon in the same way that Aliens is looked upon, and something that maybe it's equivalent, Terminator 2 Judgment Day. They're going to be these movies that are being like, it's a sequel that, whether or not it's either it's as good, if not better, but it elevates the material from the last film and it expands it. So in like Aliens, chat, James Cameron, he said, I'm going to take the aesthetic of the last movie and be very reverent of it, and very reverent of the history and those characters and what they came from and their experiences, but I'm going to now make it an action war film. I'm going to show you new things. I'm going to take you to new places. Same thing with Terminator 2 and like other stuff. I mean, look at other inspired sequels like Dawn of the Planet of the Apes compared to like Rise of the Planet of the Apes, which we've gotten these movies, but they're few and far between. And so I'm hoping, because of the sheer insurmountable success of this movie, that maybe studios will start to look at it and go like, okay, let's have our blockbuster films, because this is very much a blockbuster movie, but it has profound dramatic depth and wholesome moments between characters when in a lesser film they wouldn't even bothered. They did that. And so that's what I'm hoping they'll do. And I'm not saying I want a Maverick sequel. That's not, I don't want that. Like, no, this is fucking perfect. Just don't touch it again. Like, everything is wrapped up, right? But let's apply that same level of craftsmanship, of care, and of filmmaking ability that they did in this movie to other films and other franchises that may have been mistreated. Now there's not that there wasn't ever an excuse, but it's like there's no excuse now. This movie spent 30 plus years in some form of development hell, and this is the product they give us? Holy fucking shit. That's pretty impressive. So to wrap up my review, my overall thoughts and how I feel about this, chat, it is my favorite movie of the year. It's the movie to beat right now for me. Not that we haven't had great movies. We've had some great movies this year. I mean, I love The Batman, Turning Red. We had X, The Northman, chat. Some great films so far. 2022 has been pretty good. I mean, Doctor Strange, The Multiverse of Madness I really enjoyed. So there's a lot here. But, yeah, right now I'm like, fuck. Good luck to anything else. But yeah, it's my number one film, Chad. I really, really enjoyed it on the double toasted scale. On my own scale, this is the very definition of a better than sex.